Hello.
Welcome back.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
What's up? I'm Liv,
And I'm Amy. And this
and this
is
is Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone Spooky.
Spooky. What's up reminded me of I was talking with my brother and sister-in-law about the 6-7 thing that kids are doing and the fact that it's literally meaningless.
Yeah.
And someone compared it to what's that? And I was like, that's actually fair.
You think so? Because
Kind of, because people would just say it. Like, they'd say
Yeah.
it out of context because people are like, 6-7 can mean anything. It's like 6-7.
that's
So it's
true.
just like like, it's like the tofu of language. Like, it just, you can make it whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more
Good way to put
irritating
it.
because it's not ours.
That's true. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
being, I don't know, a curmudgeon.
You're being a real millennial, Amy. A real millennial.
It's showing a lot lately.
Yeah, same. These damn kids.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like 6-7 is stupider than was
It's,
because
yeah, fair.
it
My uncle,
comes from a
who,
real word.
well, right. My uncle, who's a teacher, he was like, it's better than skibbity. I'll say that.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
he's
that's
around
for
this
sure.
all fucking day because he works in a middle school. So he's like, oh no, 6-7 is a huge improvement from skibbity. I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Skibbity, I think,
I
is, or
can't
not skibbity.
imagine.
6-7's infuriating because it seems like it should be from something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think all
Yeah,
millennials thought it was like because 7, 8, 9, like that joke, that stupid
right.
joke.
Yes.
But we're like, wait, it's not from that? So what is it? Why?
Yeah,
Explain
it
yourselves. And they
just
can't.
doesn't. Yeah, no,
Does not
does not
compute.
compute.
No.
Jinx.
Anyway, well, we're here. We're back. It's January. Welcome. Um, if we said anything weird that didn't make sense timing wise in the last episode, it's because I messed up our production schedule. So sorry.
That's okay. I didn't
But we
catch
back.
it either.
Okay, good. Phew.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like looking in our doc and I was like, wait, this says December 26th, but the last post was December 19th. How could this be? It was like, oh, because you didn't post produce the episode. My bad. My bad.
Oops.
So anywho, here we are. And we're back with some haunted mofoing hospitals.
Yeah, one of our faves, really.
One of our faves. Yeah, so last week was true crime. We're just gonna keep it chugging along with these are really like ongoing series, I feel, both of these, true crime and hospitals. Well, welcome
Yeah,
back.
I
We're
think so.
fucking here. We're here and
Yeah.
we're not queer in like the sexual orientation way, but like we're weird, you know?
Yeah, always.
Like, that's a bit queer. That's us.
Yeah,
Just a couple
that's
of
what people
girls.
think when they see us.
Yeah, they're like, queer.
Queer.
And we're all for it, okay? Amy gets hit on a lot by other women, so it's her superpower.
Yeah,
It's true.
I get free things.
Yeah,
So.
she's giving Sephardic love story vibes. But she's straight, ladies. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've already tried.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Would you like to kick us off with some spooky little hospitals?
I would. Yes.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
There's I'm also kind of surprised. I think we talked about one of these, but not in detail.
Okay.
Unless I just totally forgot about it.
If you did,
So,
it's been long enough. Let's revisit.
okay, perfect.
That's my
All right.
feeling.
So I'm gonna start actually though with one that's just from a Reddit thread that was asking for stories from ICU nurses. So this is a non-specific hospital, but this one person had some great stories. So it was a deleted user, so I don't know who this was, but they wrote, I have worked as an ICU nurse for the last 9 years. To quote Ghostbusters, I have seen shit that will turn you pale white. I've had several encounters with emanations, as I call them, outside of the hospital as well. For whatever reason, me, my brother, and dad are more sensitive, for lack of a better term. There are tons of nuts happenings, but I will list my top 5 highlights in the hospital setting that are paranormal. So, the first one, she wrote, there was a newer nurse who was your typical sorority girl. Other nurses gave her crap and hazed her all the time. Mean.
Yeah, very mean.
Yeah. ICU nurses can be intense, but I like that. One day, a man who wasn't a nice patient had pulled a major line and he bled to death because the nurse assumed he was messing with her as he had been all day that day. That's a problem. That's like really bad.
That's so
But
bad.
yeah. Then they say they saw the flat atrial line monitor for like 5 minutes. The floor was full of his blood. We call CPR and code blue, but it fails and he dies. So his mother is Haitian. She verbally curses the nurse, that room, and our ICU. That
Oh.
room and that section of the ICU has been mega haunted ever since. Other patients have reported seeing the man, that patient that passed. And that nurse also has everything go wrong for her for weeks after, and she left that ICU months later. Which she might have deserved it if she was like, oh, he's just messing with me, I'm not gonna go check. That's like really pretty bad.
It just feels like that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
But even just to be like absolutely certain.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not
I know.
good.
Yeah. But okay, rest in peace to that man.
Yeah.
And here's her second story. So at the nurse's station, while I was floating to a PICU unit, I was talking with the secretary and 2 other nurses, as well as the charge nurse. All of us see a literal black cloud of shadows. It wasn't like anything I've seen before. Yeah. That reminds me of, I picture like the mind flayer thing in Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Which, by the way, I enjoyed
we
the
have
new
to talk about
episodes.
that. Yeah, we gotta talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Okay, so it wasn't like anything I've seen before. Move against the wall, causing a fluorescent light to flicker as it passed. The whole event took about 5 seconds, as it took its time. It was not any kind of trick of the light. I remember the secretary saying to me, "Did you see?" And me cutting her off saying, "Yes, that was a demon."
A demon? Fuck.
I know. What a conclusion to jump to.
She's just like, oh, it's a demon for sure.
It's a demon.
Shit.
No question. And they say what freaked me out was that everyone saw it and it wasn't just me. I thought that I saw red eyes in it as well, but I wasn't sure. So maybe that's why she thought it was a demon. But
yeah,
scary.
But we're gonna come. Everyone, remember this. Remember this story and this speculation, because we're gonna come back to this in my stories too.
Ooh. Okay, perfect. I love it.
Segue.
Okay. Number 3. A patient codes and dies despite our best efforts. One of my coworkers says, "Wow, that really sucked. But at least I will be going to the bar in 45 minutes to meet my mom for drinks. I'm going to need one after this." Whatever they can do to cope, I can't imagine.
Honestly, I would be a chain smoker if I were like in the emergency room or ICU.
Oh my gosh. Agreed. It's just way too much.
Yeah, way too much.
I could barely handle enrolling patients there as a researcher
in the ER. I bet.
It was, yeah. But these people, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Going to the bar. She said when she got to her car, the passenger seatbelt alarm kept going off. And the feeling, as she put it in her car, felt really off. When she met up with her mom for drinks and dinner, she said about halfway the off feeling was gone. But when she got back in her car, the passenger seatbelt alarm continued to give her issues.
Like someone's in it.
So
it's too heavy. They need to put the seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. exactly.
Implying
So
that spirits have mass, which is freaky.
Yeah. But very possible, I guess.
Yeah. I think so.
Scary. Yeah. Okay, so now I have her fourth story, and I'm realizing that I cut off the fifth one, but I can, summarize it real quick.
Yeah.
So, the fourth story, she says, I come into a patient room with his daughter is beside him. The daughter is very Christian, and I am the spiritual ambassador
Red
for
flag.
the ICU.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry.
Maybe when it comes to demons.
Yeah, seriously.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I feel like we're both going to be having
No, I know. We're both muting and coughing. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, and if I start laughing, I immediately start coughing. So it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. 'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. Okay. So the daughter knows that her father is dying and that he's on hospice. At one point, the daughter comes out of the room and grabs me with a very distressed look. She points to her father and asks, "What is he staring at?" The patient has...
shit.
Yeah. He has a terrified look, and he's looking at the ceiling of his room, tracking something moving around while gripping his bed sheets. The daughter asks if he's seeing an angel, and if so, why is he terrified? I think it's something else.
An angel.
It's not an angel. So I approach the patient to check on him. The patient, with terrified eyes, turns to me, looks me up and down, and says, "You're not an angel," before laying back down and calming. So,
okay, rude.
Yeah, I know. On exam, I find nothing wrong with him other than what was already wrong with him. We have a very long spiritual talk with the daughter, which helps her a lot, but he died the next day. So, yeah, I don't know what he was seeing, but it did not sound like an angel to me, unfortunately.
No, didn't sound good. Did not sound good to me whatsoever.
No. Yeah. And then the fifth one they included, I don't think it was really like a paranormal thing. It was like the power of, I don't know, this person. But It was a Hispanic family. And apparently the guy was coding, like dying from a heart attack. And his wife just pushed into the room and hit him on the chest and was like, "You can't die." And he woke up immediately as soon as she came in. So
you can't die.
It was like, despite all of their efforts, the thing that worked was his like scary.
Just needed a swift punch to the chest.
Yeah.
She comes in with like a chancla and is like, "You can't die."
That was exactly what the comments were saying.
That's so funny.
I was picturing that too.
Yeah. So fucking
hilarious. Okay, so that was all for that thread. And then I was looking at more. Somebody just asked a general question for paranormal hospital stories. And this comment is what led to my next topic. M. Wade 7 said, "I'll drop this one, even though it's potentially in the realm of local legend to an extent. I live just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. Have you ever heard of The Exorcist? That's supposedly based on a true story. The Exorcist.
Have you heard of it?"
It's pretty niche. I don't know.
It's pretty niche, pretty underground. You probably haven't heard of it.
Okay, he says that's supposedly based on a true story, but it was a 13-year-old boy. And the thing that I think we've talked about is the boy, the story of the exorcism. But I don't think we talked about the hospital, which was haunted for years after. So
wait, what?
That's where we're headed. Mm-hmm.
Like when they bring him into the hospital, it like rubbed off on the hospital somehow? Oh, that's weird.
That's what they think.
Very weird.
So, yeah, we'll see. Okay. So, they brought him to the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, and I'm going to review the actual like his haunting, his possession, just a little bit since it's been so long. So let me find the website. So I think that this man's identity is still unknown. They just call him Robbie to protect his privacy, I guess. He had an aunt, or maybe a family member, that they referred to in the story as Aunt Tilly. And she and Robbie were very close to each other. She was very interested in spiritualism and the occult, and she introduced Robbie to a Ouija board. And then Aunt Tilly has an untimely death, and in Robbie's grief, he tries to contact her using the Ouija board, and then all these weird things start happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is in 1949. They start hearing water dripping in their house. They find no leak anywhere. They then start hearing other sounds like claws scraping on wood. They thought maybe this is mice or squirrels. They call pest control. There's nothing in the walls. Then louder, like banging, starts to happen, and it's very focused on Robbie's room. Then they start hearing footsteps. It's just like things keep building.
The classic progression.
They see.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They see a picture of Jesus hanging on the wall begin to shake. And then poor Robbie's mattress and his bed also begin to shake when he's trying to sleep. So he's very clearly the focus of this, because also things happen to him at school, which I didn't remember.
Oh,
like it's focused on him, not on their house.
Yeah, that's interesting. Which actually makes it more plausible that it would happen in the hospital as well.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter where you go, it's going to follow you.
It's attached. Yeah. So like at school, his desk gets slid around and it gets pushed hard enough that he like bangs into other students. So just imagine being in class with that. So scary.
That's so scary.
Then he starts speaking in tongues. He starts getting scratches. They're like, I don't know what to do. So they turn to the Catholic Church, which there's a very large Jesuit community in St. Louis. So that is who gets involved. And they start the exorcism between February and March of 1949. He undergoes a lot of psychological and physical testing, but nothing is coming clear. Like, this is just such a mystery. He seems repulsed by holy water and holy objects. He has like inhuman strength sometimes when they're trying to hold him down.
Jesus.
He contorts his body in ways that should not be possible. So anyway, the official exorcism happens on March 18th, 1949. This is when the contortions get their strongest, and actually the word hell is like scratched, manifested onto his chest.
Oh my god, this poor kid. I don't remember all the details of this.
I kind of don't either when I was reading these, but maybe because it follows like the general story.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds familiar, but I don't know. We could do it again in like full detail. So, yeah. But at this point, he's moved to the Alexian Brothers Hospital for this exorcism to take place. And there's like journal entries from all the people that were there and involved. And eventually, he starts yelling, Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave this body immediately, now, now, now. Moments later, Robbie wakes up and he just says, he's gone. And he says, I had a dream that Saint Michael, the archangel, had battled the devil and the demons and freed me. So,
interesting.
Yeah. And he says the people in the hospital around claim that at that moment that Robbie finally woke up, it sounded like a gunshot sounded throughout the whole floor. So it was like something disappeared or just left his body and hung out.
Yikes. Oh, God.
Yeah. So let's get into those stories. All right. So immediately, pretty much, the staff notices that something has changed on this floor. So this took place on the 5th floor. The room where it happened felt different, cold, oppressive, very unwelcoming. Staff didn't want to go into it. Patients that were placed in that room all reported disturbing experiences in there, shadows, whispering, the sensation of being watched by something malevolent. And within months of the exorcism having happened, reports began accumulating of a lot of paranormal activity throughout the whole wing, so not just in that room anymore. And they wrote, whether the events of 1949 had awakened something that already existed there, or whether something had been left behind when the entity departed the boy, the wing had become haunted. So, this exorcism happened in 1949. The hospital is finally demolished in 1978. So these hauntings are happening for like 30 years.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. Some quick things that people said: they would hear inhuman voices speaking unknown languages, see objects moving without physical cause, very extreme cold spots, feelings of oppression and malevolence, and also some people did have physical attacks on both staff and patients, like scratches and things that are so scary. So,
yeah, seriously.
We have some staff stories now. So here is a nurse's account, and these are all just really quick. So this nurse said, the 5th floor was different. Even during the day, it felt very wrong. At night, you could hear things, footsteps when no one was there, voices from empty rooms. I saw a figure once standing at the end of the hall. I thought it was a patient until it walked through the wall. So, yikes.
Yikes.
Then a maintenance worker said, I refused to work alone in that wing. Equipment would malfunction for no reason. Tools would disappear and reappear somewhere else. Once I was in a room replacing a light fixture and something shoved me. There was no one else there. I quit the next day.
Bye.
Bye. A brother's testimony, they called this one, says, we prayed constantly for the wing to be cleansed. Nothing worked. The presence there was stubborn, resistant. I believed something was attached to that place that could not be removed through prayer alone. So, they're trying, but it's not working. Okay. So then some things that happened with patients. This said, patients who had no contact with each other reported remarkably similar experiences. The same figure, the same voice, and the same feeling of being held down at night, which unacceptable.
I hate that.
Then some patients who came in and seemed to be making good progress would experience dramatic setbacks when moved to certain rooms. And then they'd improve again when they moved elsewhere. So I think they started avoiding all these rooms on the 5th floor, and they were like, this is not good for the hospital budget because we can't just have empty rooms all the time.
Right.
And then multiple patients over the years had very violent reactions to being placed in the room where the exorcism occurred, even when they had no knowledge of what happened there. And then finally, in some cases, staff witnessed phenomena that patients were reporting: moving objects, unexplained sounds, temperature drops, confirming that the experiences were not just psychiatric, which could have been confusing because they were in a psych unit. So,
right.
you can't really know.
Oh my God. And imagine actually having some sort of like really severe mental health crisis and then actually seeing some shit that's like real that staff can confirm. I mean, that would be fucked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would, really ruin any progress. That's for sure.
Yeah. Not good. Not good.
Yeah. But just read this final little part that by the 1970s, the psychiatric wing of the Alexian Brothers Hospital had become so problematic that something had to be done. The staff turnover was high. Employees cited the building's atmosphere as their reason for leaving. Patient outcomes in the wing were poorer than in other facilities, and the building itself seemed to resist maintenance and improvement. So, in 1978, the decision was made to demolish the wing. The official justification was the building's age and the cost of bringing it up to modern standards, but those who worked there knew other factors were at play.
Yeah.
Blessed the building before the demolition began, but workers who were doing the demolition reported unusual occurrences during the teardown. Equipment failures, injuries, a pervasive sense of unease. Some workers actually quit rather than continuing the project. Therefore, the demolition took longer than expected, as if something was resisting the destruction of its home. When the wing finally came down, employees reported that the atmosphere of the main hospital improved noticeably. Whatever had concentrated in the psychiatric wing seemed to have been dispersed. So, that's very scary.
So scary. I feel like I really don't remember all the details of that, but I feel like even the name Robbie, I'm like, that sounds really familiar. Like, I do feel like we covered it, but the hell being carved in his chest, that I don't remember, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it got so mixed up in my mind with the movie The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like there have been multiple exorcism stories that have said this inspired The Exorcist.
Yeah, totally. So which I think all of them probably inspired The Exorcist. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there have been exorcisms. Like the one about that little girl who like her like knees were bleeding from, I don't know, like being forced to pray or something. Do you remember that?
I think so.
It was like one of the first exorcism stories I think we covered, and it was like the most brutal sounding.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think her name was Anne or something like that. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Freaky.
Very.
Okay, well, we're moving out of exorcism realm and back into just plain old haunted hospitals, but keep in mind dark figures, especially dark figures with red eyes in the hospital, because there are some theories about like what that might be and how that apparition appears to people as well. So we'll get to that.
Okay.
So this is, I think like 5 or 6 of these, but they're all relatively short. So this is actually a Reddit ask from Jamalson54 for police officers of Reddit asking if they've ever responded to a call for paranormal reasons, which I thought was a really interesting prompt. And so this is actually someone who worked security in an old Victorian insane asylum, also known as the Nova Scotia Hospital. So this is from Kestrel71. So they say, first off, I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural in any way, shape, or form. That said, I had a few very strange experiences working at this hospital. I have a ton of stories about it, but I'll post one of the strangest. If you want to hear more, let me know. So they say the hospital was made up of several buildings, mostly mid-20th century. There was a large 7-story building with offices and accommodations for student nurses called Simpson Hall, a large central administration building with 8 wings for patients, and a forensic, and then they say in parentheses, criminally insane unit called Purdy Building. A new building under construction to replace the old Victorian building called Mount Hope, a building with a gym, kitchen, dining room, and swimming pool, the Hugh Bell Building, 2 small outlying buildings for children and adolescents, the PAU and MCU, and then the old insane asylum, which is called the DeWolf Building. It was built in 1856. 20-foot ceilings, 200-pound oak and steel doors, 18 to 24-inch thick walls, underground tunnels, everything you've ever thought about an old Victorian insane asylum, it has it all. It's all the bells and whistles. So when I first started working there in 1992, my job was to go from the guard post in the Hugh Bell building down to the basement, unlock the steel doors leading to the tunnel system, lock myself into the tunnel system, and walk along the DeWolf building, go through another set of steel gates, locking myself inside, walk the tunnel system to the end, and then go up in an elevator I called down using a special key. I would then go up to the 4th floor and walk through each floor, checking doors until I got to the main floor, where I would walk out the main entrance, back out to the Hugh Bell building outside, and locking it from the outside. I had to do this roughly once an hour. So he's like lapping. So going down through the basement, up through the building, locking himself in to different areas to make sure no one can come through the building secure. 3 years in, this is 1995. The building closed and patients were moved into the new Mount Hope building. So this replaced the DeWolf building because the space was no longer being used and because the building was slated to be demolished in 1996. They didn't bother heating it. It had no power. Maintenance had been through and stripped it of things like light bulbs, etc. So there was no functionality from like an electricity standpoint at this point. It wasn't being served electricity and there weren't light bulbs and things like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the old furniture had been left in place, however, as they had bought new stuff for the new building. So one of the things that also happened was that they shut off power to the elevators and had all of the phones removed. Now, I know that every phone was removed because I was the guy who went through with the phone company guy in late summer of that year and removed every single phone from the place. So he was like, I know for certain there were no phones in that building. It's the winter of 1995, and I'm working a back shift, which is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was a shift supervisor and had 3 guards on the ground with me and 1 locked in the forensic unit. Around 2 a.m., we get a call from the hospital operator saying that the police had called her to let her know they were getting calls from inside the DeWolf building. She had, of course, told them that is impossible and explained why. They insisted that they were getting calls from inside the DeWolf building. So the 4 of us go into the building and each take a floor of the building and search it. Now, it's the dead of winter and temperatures have been fairly low, negative 20 degrees Celsius or so. This is in Canada, so we have Celsius. So there had been a pipe burst about a week before, which maintenance had dealt with. Interesting story there too, but for another time. And it had left 2 floors entirely coated in ice. There was ice on everything, and it was about 3 inches thick, and shadows were kind of bouncing everywhere from the flashlights hitting the ice and reflecting. So we're walking through the building, we're checking every unit, every floor, eyeballing every empty phone jack, and there is nothing, not a single phone in the entire building. We go back to the guard post and report the building is empty, no one's calling in there, and there are no phones in there, as we said. 10 minutes later, the operator calls back and says that there are more calls coming from DeWolf, and the police are insisting we find the cause. So back over we go. I was about 10 feet away from the nursing station on a unit called N16, and the operator calls to say that there is a call active right now coming from the N16 nursing station. I go rushing over to see, and there is nothing there. There is no person. There is no phone. So he's back in DeWolf, and they're saying this specific location is where it's coming from. There's nothing. So she's like, it's now coming from the N16 lounge, which is down the other end of the unit. So I go running down there, and again, there's nothing. Now it's coming from the N16 elevator phone, and this time it's not just dead air, but it sounds like someone is talking with their hand over the phone. So it's like muffled speaking into a receiver that isn't there. So I go rushing back down to the other end of the unit. This is a good 60 seconds or so of running because it's a big building. I'm standing outside the closed and unpowered elevator doors, and she is saying that the calls are coming in every few seconds from the elevator that I am standing in front of. And then they stop. We all decide to wait inside the building, 1 person per floor for a few minutes until we know things have fully stopped. We waited maybe 15 minutes, and as we start to leave, the phone calls start up again. 1 more trip around the building, same exact result. Eventually we said we can't waste more time on this, and it just has to be some sort of technical glitch. The operator puts in a call to the phone company and requests an engineer first thing the next morning. I was supposed to go home at 7 a.m. It was my last back shift, so I was starting 4 days off, but I stayed to meet the engineer because I was, of course, really curious at this point. The engineer said the lines had likely been reassigned and the calls were coming from real people wherever those lines had been put. So we go into the old building and check the junction box, and the engineer has this puzzled look that comes over his face. He hooks up some equipment and is talking back to someone at the phone company. He starts checking connections and numbers, and then we start walking around the building and plugging his phone into the jacks. Turns out none of the lines had been reassigned, and they were all live. The strangest part was that day, the engineer and the phone company killed all the lines, and the phone calls continued off and on for about 2 more weeks until they finally stopped for good. We never found out the cause. Isn't that freaky? Yeah, so freaky.
So there were calls coming from the elevator in front of him? Is that house?
Yeah, and it was like, it almost felt like it was following him because he was at the nurse's station. They're like, it's coming from the nurse's station. So he's there. He's like, no, it's not. And then they're like, it's coming from the lounge. Okay, I'm going. Mm-hmm. There's no one here. Okay, now it's at the elevator, so he's just standing in front of the elevator. It makes me think it wanted him to get in the elevator for some reason. And I don't like that at all. Yeah. But he couldn't have, because there was no power. Yeah. So, anyway. So then he shares one more. And he says, okay, I have some more about Simpson Hall, which is the... I'm just scrolling back up. This is the 7-story building with offices and accommodations for student nurses. So, hospital adjacent, but it's all part of the same structure.
Yeah. So
the 7th floor, he said it's all been torn down now. I think he says like a couple years ago, which now is like 14 years ago. But it's a 7-story building filled with offices. The 7th floor, however, was different. It was basically a dorm for visiting student nurses who were required to complete several weeks in a psych hospital for their, part of their program. Our tours of the building included the 7th floor. We had a guard post in the lobby area, and every hour or so we would take the elevator up to the 7th floor. In parentheses, special key required. The elevators were in the center of the building, and we'd walk to one end, check doors, then come back through the center, continue to the other end of the building, and do the same. Then we'd take the stairs down to the next floor, walk the length of the floor, take the stairs on that end, down to the next floor. So back and forth, back and forth. So Simpson Hall had a few strange things, and these are all kind of short. Number 1, the first one is that when you're walking along the floor of the 7th floor, when you're walking along the 7th floor, you could sometimes hear the sound of someone running above you, which, as a reminder, would be on the roof. When you'd go down to the 6th floor, the running sound would continue, but this time it would seem right above you, so on the 7th floor. But it would be even louder. And then the same thing on the 5th floor. It didn't ever happen, at least to me, on any floors below 5, but I've had people stand on the 7th floor while I walked through 6. I could hear running while the person on 7 heard nothing. So there's obviously no one up there, but there's a sound as if there is.
Yeah.
Which also makes me feel like it's targeting him. Because it's like he's hearing it, but even the person standing where the running is happening, they can't hear it at all. I don't know. I don't like it.
That's
Number 2. And I hate this, again, with the elevators. Another strange thing with Simpson Hall is that the elevators would follow you. Mm. Like the elevator game. That's demonic. I mean, 100% that's demonic.
Yep. That's so scary.
Like I said, we would get off on the 7th floor and zigzag our way down the building. There were some nights where the elevators would open up, both of them at once, as you walked past the center section. I figured it must be some sort of default mechanism and the timing of my rounds just synced up with it. So one night I took the stairs up instead of down and walked back along the floor I had previously walked. And as I walked through the center section, there they were, already standing open.
Yeah.
Hate. Number 3. We zigzag our way down the building's floors, walking from one end to the other. At the end of each floor was a large plate glass window. The corridor was lined on both sides with office doors, all secured and locked. In the center of the building were the 2 elevators and a small kitchen and lounge, separated from the wings by fire doors, also with windows. At night, the big windows at the end of the wings were essentially a mirror because it's really dark outside and you've got at least some light indoors. And sometimes, as you were checking doors, you would catch movement in the reflection. And if you were fast enough, you'd see someone moving near the fire doors at the other end of the wing near the center section. I've seen this probably half a dozen times, and every single time it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I had a coworker who swore he saw a man in coveralls standing inside the wing of the building, and as he watched via the reflection, he said the man started walking towards him. When he turned to see who it was, there was no one there, and when he looked back at the reflection, that was gone too. No one else ever reported seeing that, but he was convinced and so scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. That's terrifying.
Number 4. This one is probably the darkest of the bunch. We had nurses staying on the 7th floor and they had rented a movie and were getting ready to watch it in their lounge area, the center section near the kitchen and between 2 sets of fire doors leading to the wings. I wasn't in the building at the time, but the guard who was working in that building had just finished a round when we get a call from the operator for all of us to go immediately to the 7th floor of Simpson Hall. Not knowing what was going on, we drop everything and run straight there. I was a supervisor and was down in the tunnels of DeWolf doing my round, so I got there a couple minutes after everyone else. By the time I got there, the nurses were all crowded into the lounge area, and one of them was freaking out, crying, jabbering, bright red in the face, scared shitless. Apparently, she had gone to her room to get a box of popcorn that she had bought earlier in the day, and when she opened the door to her room, there was a man standing outside the window looking in at her. On the outside of the window on the 7th floor looking in, and there are no balconies. I left one guard in the center section. Yeah, what the hell? I left one guard in the center section, one on the other end of the building, and I went up onto the roof. There was no one up there, no sign anyone had been on the roof at all. We checked every inch of the building and checked the camera footage of the entrances. No one but us had entered the building in over 3 hours. We never found an explanation.
Yeah.
So freaky. Freaky.
No.
Okay.
No thanks.
On to the next. This is from Stop It Jekka.
Okay.
So they say this is also like hospital staff, one of these like kind of like prompts, I guess, on Reddit. They say, I used to work in the pharmacy of a hospital, which was in the basement, and I also used to work 3rd shift. To be fair, 3rd shift in the basement with the emergency lights on only is creepy enough, but I always felt like I was being watched or followed. It started one night when I was gathering IV supplies to take back to the pharmacy for preparation the next day. Something kept kicking my cart and knocking supplies off, so I started brick stacking them so that they were more stable and bringing bins with me so that the supplies couldn't fall off the cart. This one night, I gathered up the supplies and brought them back to our IV room and started putting them away when the cart goes flying across the room, scattering things everywhere. Then, from the bins where I was placing the new supplies, things started just flying straight out at me. Not from the top, not from the middle of the stacks, from the bottom. 1-liter bags flying at my head. After about the 10th bag, I just yelled, "Enough!" and it stopped. I picked up what fell and started rearranging things when I saw the cart I was working from come rolling back towards me. It stopped right at my waist, and I swear on my life, the bags still on the cart moved so slowly and deliberately back into their brick pattern. I was stunned. So after this event and several weeks of similar encounters, one night I finally just said, "Look, I don't care that you follow me, but I'm really busy and I do not have time for your shenanigans. If you're going to be my shadow, at least help me out." And for the rest of the night, every time I went to push the elevator button, it illuminated in front of me before I touched it. These were service elevators, not the kind in the lobbies with multiple buttons. After that, anytime I lost something, be it a pen, markers, stamp for my initials, bag of medicine, it always reappeared on a very specific spot on a specific shelf in our compounding area. I rarely used that area on 3rd shift, but I swear all I had to do was ask where it was, and within 10 minutes, it would be in that spot every time. I left that hospital after 2 years, and on my way home after my last shift, something happened that to this day I think saved my life. I was leaving as the sun was coming up, and I was driving home, and my radio shut off unexpectedly. It was a 2013 Ford Focus, and this had never happened. So as I'm messing with the controls, in a split second, the sun hit me in the face, and the radio came blaring on, which scared me, and so I slammed on the brakes just out of instinct. When I looked up, I was inches away from an SUV that was stopped in the middle of the road, hazards flashing. I immediately look into my rear view, expecting someone to be about to hit me, rear-ending me, to catch a glimpse of a boy sitting in my back seat. When I double-taked, he vanished. Though I only saw him for a second, his image is forever in my memory. He was sort of dusty looking. He had sandy hair and an old bowl cut hairstyle. Button-up shirt, cloth pants, and a huge grin on his face with little black shoes, sitting perfectly in the middle of my back seat. This is the last time I ever saw or felt his presence. So I think he thinks like this little boy was the one messing with him in the hospital and sort of like followed him home. Very weird.
I love that one, actually.
I know. I like it too.
It's
especially because he was like, okay,
yeah.
Enough. You're being a little shithead. Help.
Yeah.
If you're going to be here, help.
Yeah, just help me. Yeah, I know.
So funny. So,
I like it.
Okay, I have a couple more. So this is from Sensical, from the same thread. And they say, psychiatric RN here, which that job sounds really hard. My first job was in a small 35-bed psych hospital in California. It used to be a medical facility where surgeries were performed and, of course, people died. Couple stories here. First off, when I'd work night shift, I'd sometimes get a phone call from the local police station asking if everything was okay. Sure, everything was fine. The patients are asleep. It's just a normal night. Then the police said that they received a 911 call from our hospital, and the extension from where the call was being made was the arts and crafts room, and nobody goes in there at night, not even staff, because it always had a creepy vibe and was where surgeries used to be performed. The caller, identifying herself as Satana, was asking for help. Yeah.
It's not good.
No. This would happen about once a month or so, and night shift didn't have much staff, so as supervisor, I knew where all my staff was at any given time because I would be the one to help relieve them during breaks. I know with 100% certainty that no staff or patients were the ones calling 911. I know it wasn't a patient because psych hospital doors are locked, and to get to that room, a patient would have to cross 3 barriers of passcode protected doors. Creepy, right? At other times, our PA system would turn on randomly, usually around 10 p.m., and you'd hear breathing and beeping machines. Mind you, none of the equipment we had beeped. One time in particular, the PA turned on, and you could hear what sounded like a kid speaking, but the content of what was said couldn't really be made out, and then it stopped. Then started again, and then you could hear what sounded like an outgoing call playing through the PA. This was impossible to do because to activate the PA, you had to pick up the phone and dial 77. Once you do that, you lose the dial tone and can't make an outbound call at the same time. So anyhow, the PA played an outgoing call for hours, yet not a single phone was ringing in the hospital, so we weren't sure what was happening, let alone how. It finally stopped around 6 a.m. So for 8 hours, and our patients were pissed. Imagine trying to fall asleep to that. To this day, nobody knew how it happened, and the technician we called out at the time thought we were pranking him. Anyway, that's all I got. A year prior to my leaving in 2014, a patient had, trigger warning here, successfully completed suicide and died right in front of me while we tried performing CPR. So she was like, yeah. So she was saying, I wonder if his ghost also still haunts those halls.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, sad. Okay. I have a couple more. So this is from Radioactive Corn Cob, which honestly slay.
Love it.
Okay, they say I have a few stories, although they're not my own. Some coworkers and I actually were just talking about this on Sunday night at work. One coworker has seen a nurse with a short blonde ponytail pushing an empty wheelchair. The first time she saw it, it came out of ultrasound. Our ultrasound, CT, and mammogram are back in a hallway all by themselves, and there's only one way to get there other than the locked fire exit. Ultrasound, CT, mammo all require a code to get in, and the doors stay shut at all times unless you're bringing a patient in. My coworker was getting stuff ready for a CT and had the door open when she heard the ultrasound door open and close. This was in the middle of the night, and she hadn't called ultrasound in, so there should not have been anyone else in the department. She walked out of CT and saw the reflection of the nurse and wheelchair in one of the doors to the outside. Also, the doors to outside just reflect at night and are possible to see the outside, even if an ambulance is out there with lights on. A few months later, she saw the same thing in a different hallway. She thought it was a nurse from upstairs bringing down a stat x-ray and that they had just passed the room. She went out to tell them, hey, I'm in here, but there wasn't anyone there. Another couple stories come from my mom, who's been a nurse for 23 years in various settings. When she worked in long-term care, there was a patient who had passed away 3 days earlier. My mom was walking down the hallway and passed this patient's room and thought, oh, there's so-and-so in their rocking chair. She said then she stopped and was like, wait, she died 3 days ago. So she went back and there was no one there, which I think that's kind of sweet. Okay, so now we're coming back to the theme I said to hold in your mind. The patients in this long-term care always said they saw a man in black, usually before someone died. My mom was working nights in the ER at the same hospital when she saw a man in black walking through the hallway. She had one patient, so she was at the nurse's station while her coworkers went out to smoke. She said she saw the guy walk out of one of the doors to the outside that requires a code to get in or out. She thought it was one of these creepy maintenance men who always kind of gave her the wig. So when her coworkers came in and she was like, did someone call maintenance because he just walked outside? Her coworkers were like, don't know who you saw, but the maintenance guy was out with us smoking. She calls it the place where they smoke the butt hut, which I think is so funny. So funny. And then she talks about when she was working in a nursing home, she had never seen anything full form, but she and other nurses saw something black out of the corner of their eye all at the same time. They also had patients who talked about seeing a little boy who would come and play and run around the halls right before someone died. So that brings me to basically Hat Man. So I think it's interesting because I know in hospital episodes before we've talked about Hat Man, and I feel like there's so many theories about what exactly Hat Man is. And some say a demon, which I think is possible. Some say a shadow person. Are those things maybe the same thing? I don't know. Sleep paralysis demon, whatever. People have vastly various kinds of experiences with Hat Man. Like some feel this like existential dread. Others are like, I didn't really feel anything, or like I didn't feel scared, but he was just there, and I was like kind of like I was in a trance or whatever. But I just think part of me is like, is it like the Reaper? And I came across so many stories about that, like nurses even acknowledging that, like seeing a black figure in a hat out of the corner of your eye is like insanely common among nurses, especially working in hospice or end of life or long-term care. And so I figured I would just read one more. So
yeah, that's like the episode we did with, I think her name was Amy. The man in the hat doesn't like you. It's like
that one gives me chills to this day. Which I mean, that could be demonic. It also could be if you're actively working to pull someone from the grip of the Grim Reaper. Yeah, I would be like, back off. He's mine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Right. It's so, but I don't like that people have that sense of dread. Like that's what's so scary to me is like the feeling that he gives people. But then it's like, what if you're just not a good person? You feel dread because you're, I don't know. The whole thing is so freaky.
If he's giving you the sense that you're about to die, like I would have a lot of dread too.
There'd be natural dread.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, exactly. But then there are people like this one, like this is in a hospital, but it is hospital plus sleep paralysis. So when they're not on the verge of death, but maybe they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But then why does he come into people's houses when they have sleep paralysis?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's very confusing. And maybe it's different entities that just look similar, but anyway. Yeah. So this is from Father Willis, and this is from 2 weeks ago. So they say, When I was in hospital, I had been given a room to myself, like everyone else in that ward. And to give a bit of context on how the room is set up, the bed was positioned in the middle, up against a wall in front of a TV. To the right of the bed was the door where the nurses could open a window to do checks on you without entering. Diagonal on the right side of the bed was the bathroom. On the left side of the room was just a few benches and a window to see outside with a lounge couch. On the night that this happened, I had dozed off because I was extremely tired from a medication that I had been given. I'd eventually woken up for whatever reason when I saw this humanoid figure, I'll call it. All I remember was its face and what it was doing. It was peeping at me, giddily, like, based on how tall it was, probably the size of an adult male. I'm not 100% sure. Its face, however, was pale white, and I'm pretty sure that its eyes were bloodshot or even a tiny bit out of their socket, like bulging out of their sockets, which is a really awful thought. It was wearing all black and I believe had on a hat. But anyway, all it was doing was peeping at me. I remember then blacking out and woke up completely drenched in sweat. I wasn't scared per se, but I'm genuinely still thinking about it to this day. This happened maybe a year ago, and I remember it so clearly. It makes me think it was some sort of entity. I heard from other patients in the hospital that they had had similar experiences. I've witnessed keycard-operated doors swinging open when no one was in or near the room to do that, and these were really heavy doors that didn't have any sort of technology to open them externally, like the security room, according to the nurses and doctors. I also heard that people had come to the land before this hospital was built to bless it with protection. So I don't know if this was just a shared hallucination or something else entirely. I'm a believer in paranormal occurrences and the occult as a whole, but I'm really curious as to what exactly this was. I've never really been very scared of this, but whenever I talk about the specific experience, my skin starts crawling. So yeah, any and all help is appreciated. So everyone in the comments is like, that's fucking Hatman. Like, that is Hatman. Yeah. So, and then when people ask, like, do you mind sharing what kind of medication they put you on? And they say lorazepam, which is an anti-anxiety medication. I thought it was going to be like Benadryl or like something that like is known to maybe make you hallucinate or Percocet or whatever. But no, lorazepam, which I don't think would do that. So yeah. And they also said in the comments, I don't have nightmares whatsoever. So when I'm on a medication, I don't know, like I guess that's possible, but I've never had anything like this happen again, even on that medication. So very weird. And it just does kind of make me think like, what's up with that? What's up with that man just lurking around?
And don't peep.
Don't peep. Peeping. Stop peeping.
Ever.
Everyone? No peeping ever, okay?
Yeah.
God.
There's
just
no
stop peeping.
Circumstance for peeping.
I hate it. That's our episode title. No peeping. Ever.
No peeping.
Just don't. Just don't
Just
peep.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Anywho. Longest title.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't peep.
Just keep going.
No peeping.
Ever. No
just
peeping.
Stop peeping.
Just don't. Just stop.
Love it.
Okay, well, good news for you little freaks. We have one more episode next week, and then we have a Scary Stories episode for Valentine's Day.
Yay! I love scary stories.
Prepare to get spooked. Yeah. Romance. This is romantic, you guys. These scary stories. At least I feel like it's romantic. Anywho, well, we'll see you next week. And until then, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.